Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Jeffrey Wolf, Director of Corporate Solutions here at IPRO, and I'm happy to be with you today to help to walk you through the IPRO legal hold solution. We're going to be going in depth today to understand how to use the solution, what's some best practices around legal hold, and really how you can get the most value out of the solution today. So we are starting from the point where we are already authenticated. So this application is just a level set. This is a browser-based software as a service solution, subscription-based. More than likely, you've already subscribed if you're listening to this presentation. But getting started, if you see the screen here that you're looking at, this is hold management. That means you have been given the permission as a global hold manager or global hold viewer to see holds created in your corporate subscription. Everyone else in the organization who does not have that permission will be redirected if they visit the URL for your application. They'll be redirected to what we call the custodian portal. So it looks something like this. They won't have the ability to create or manage holds. They simply will see the holds that they are part of. So custodian Jeffrey Wolf is on hold for these holds right here. But hold manager Jeffrey Wolf is able to access the system and create new holds. And so we're going to start from that point. By the way, to get started, you would visit the URL that's assigned to your company. So that's something typically like company.legalhold.1. In my case, it's ipro.staging.legalhold.1. When I come in here, I can see a few things. So right at the top, I have some metrics. First is the number of holds that I have on draft, meaning that I have started creating a hold but not issued it out. The middle metric is the number of active or issued holds that I have in my subscription. So that's 13 currently. And that is the licensing element. We used to license the solution based on the number of active custodian holds. That means the number of total custodians on all active holds. But we now license it based on the issue count. So my issue count is 13. Meaning when I lift something, that will decrease. If I issue a new hold, that will increase. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how we use this grid down here. You'll see this grid format throughout the product. I'm only going to explain it once, but then it'll make sense wherever you see it. The grid is completely customizable. So I am able to pick and choose which columns are visible to me through the settings wheel over here. I can select the columns that I want. So for example, if I want to add the modification date here, I can just click on that and that will show up right in my display. I can drag and drop the columns around and rearrange them. I can resort based on any of them just by clicking on the name of that column, and that will sort ascending, descending toggle. And then I can also filter. So you'll see here in my status column, I have filtered for just the draft and issued holds. I'm not showing or displaying the lifted holds. So if I come over here, once I have it set the way I want it, I can hit Save View, and that will retain those settings for the next time I use the product. So that is a user setting that will be retained there for all future uses of the product until I change it again. That is pretty much how the grid works throughout the solution. So whenever you see this grid, there's always a settings wheel, and you are able to select additional columns, turn off columns. You can also always export the view to Excel. To start a new hold, I'm going to go ahead and hit Create. We'll walk you through the creation of a new hold. I'm going to take you through the whole life cycle of a hold through the solution. So let's go ahead and create IPRO demo hold. And I optionally have the ability to add a description here. I can associate the hold to a matter. That is not required, but it is optional. So let's go ahead and take a look. None of the matters here are applicable to my case. So I'm going to create a new matter by clicking Add New Matter. And that's going to allow me to enter as much or as little additional detail about this matter as I'd like. I can, all I have to do, the only thing that's mandatory is the name of the hold. So I can put IPRO v. Acme. Everything else is optional. So any of this other additional metadata I can fill in. I don't have to, but if I do, I'm able to flow that information into my message templates later in the product. So I'll go ahead and hit save. That will add that matter there. And then the only other thing I do have to select is a hold owner. So in this case, let's pick Julie Freeland. The hold owner serves as the person who the messages will be sent as. So you can see here, the system has, through a single sign-on, identified me as Jeffrey Wolf. However, I have the ability to select whoever I want for the messages to be sent out as. The workflow here is that if Julie Freeland is the attorney in the case, and she's asked me as a legal assistant or paralegal or legal operations person to send the messages out as her, all I have to do is come in here, create the hold, select her as the owner, and then the messages will be sent out as her. Description is optional, I'll leave that blank. So I'm going to hit save here. And now I'm in draft mode of my hold. You'll notice I clicked the blue create hold button to start the process. The blue button is always your next action in the product. So I'm going to go ahead now, and if I proceed into the hold, you'll notice my blue button says add custodians. I will click add custodians. This is a listing right here of all of the members of my organization. So this is connected into, for your organization, it's either going to be Azure Active Directory, it could be Okta. It's whatever the directory authority is. And that will match the information in your company directory, and it will synchronize that information into our product. So anything you'd see, for example, in your global address list in Outlook, if you're a Microsoft 365 user, the list will match here. And you can see I'm only showing a few columns, but I can visualize any of the other columns associated to the custodians by selecting and turning them on here. So for example, if I also wanted to see department and division, I could just turn those columns on, and I have that information here. So if I wanted to select my custodians, I can filter them by email address. So for example, if someone gave me a list of the email addresses of my custodians, I could paste those in here, and I can pick and choose who I want. That'll filter my list down, or I can just type in their full name. So for example, if I want to make myself a custodian, I can just start typing my name, pick myself from the list, and click there and to add myself to the hold. If I then clear the filters and I want to grab some other people, so let's say I want to grab everybody that is in this Globex company here. I want to grab these 3 people and add them as well. But I can also, let's clear this filters. I can filter down based on any of the information here. So these filters are dynamically generated. So for example, if I want to see everybody who's located in Tempe, I can select Tempe and it will show me all of my Tempe personnel. Or if I want to see everybody who's in a specific department like sales, I can select sales and it'll show me everyone who's in the sales department. These filters are dynamically generated, so there's no configuration needed to actually create them. They populate themselves based on the data in the table. Once I have everybody I need added, I can just click the add button. And a couple things I'll point out here. So now that we're on the custodian list, we have our custodians added. First and foremost is the ability to select the communication status. You can see here that everybody came in with all communication. And if I go back here, I can see that all communication is selected here when I go to select those custodians. I can change that to one of 2 other settings if I so choose. That can be notice only or silent. And I'll just explain briefly what all 3 of those mean. So the main point of this application is to send hold notices out. We start with a hold notice as the very first thing that goes out. When you click issue hold, you can see the blue button says issue hold now. That hold notice is what will be sent out to your custodians. After the hold notice goes out, then if the custodians respond right away, great. If they don't respond right away, they're going to receive a reminder notification on a schedule that you set. And we'll talk about scheduling in a little bit. They will receive multiple reminders if they don't respond after the first reminder. If the process escalates further, meaning that they ignore the hold notice and the reminder notices, the system will automatically send an escalation notice to the person's supervisor. And you might wonder, well, where do we get that information from? But actually manager information is contained in the directory. So you can see here, if I go look at my custodian list, I can see in the column list, there's going to be manager information as well. Address of manager right there. So the system will automatically escalate to the manager. And then of course the manager would intercede and get the custodian to acknowledge. After they have acknowledged, we have awareness notifications, which is really just meant to be a periodic reminder for cases that go on for a long period of time. It will send out a notice saying, just a reminder, you're still on hold for this case. Please don't delete any data associated with it. And then ultimately, when the case is lifted, the system will send a lift notice. So that's a lot of notices associated to this hold. What the communication status window allows you to do is say, for example, if Martin has reached out to me in the past and said, you know what, I don't want all those emails. Send me the hold notice, please, and send me the lift notice at the end. Don't send me any of the reminders. I promise I will acknowledge. And then I can change his communication status to notice only, which will suppress all those intermediary notifications. Conversely, if Ariana here is part of an internal HR investigation and we want to track that we're looking at her data through the legal hold application, but we don't want to notify her that she's on an internal investigation, we would probably make her a silent custodian. What that will do is it will suppress all communication to her. She won't even receive a hold notice. She won't receive any communication from the system. So you have a few different options there for communication with your custodians. I will point out the preservation status column. It's currently blank. When we issue the hold, we will activate preservation in place for email. And so that will fill in as we go forward. In fact, let's do that now. Let's turn on preservation in place. We've recently added the ability to add preservation in place from Microsoft 365 email to the application. And you'll notice I had a couple of options there. I could have filled in start and end date. I chose to leave them blank. They're optional. If I fill those in, that will preserve mail only within those dates in the corresponding mailboxes. If I leave them blank, it will put the whole mailbox on hold. So all three of these mailboxes, John, Martin, and Ariana, are currently set to not preserved because we haven't issued the hold yet. But when we do, they will. What our software will do is reach out to Microsoft 365 Compliance Center. It will programmatically create a new case, e-discovery case in the core e-discovery module. It will then create a litigation hold under that case, and then it will add all three of these mailboxes to that hold. It does all of that automatically. Once it's complete, it reports back to our application that that's been done, and this will say preservation active. When you go to lift the case, conversely, you would lift the hold from within the application. I'll show you that at the end. And what that will do is also reach back out to Compliance Center and tell Compliance Center to release those preservations. And then it would show the status would update accordingly. You will see right now it says there are 3 to-dos because the system is not, we've not issued the hold yet. This is the magic wand icon indicating that this is an automatic in-place preservation. You do also have the ability of creating other preservation types that are manual. So for example, if I wanted to preserve laptops for any of my employees, I could ask the system to do that. I can say, hey, preserve laptops. All that would actually do is send a note to IT and ask them to image those laptops and then mark in the application that they've performed that. So they just come in here and they'd mark that the preservation work for the laptop was done. And you can see that changing here in my done versus to do. So now that is complete. You'll notice the difference. This is a manual preservation location versus the automatic preservation. We only support email at this point in 365, although we are currently in development for OneDrive, SharePoint, and Teams in-place preservation as well. So that look for that to come in the future. On the Messages tab, and let me point out, by the way, that the system has all the information it needs already. That's why the button actually says Issue Hold. But since we are going through training, I'm showing you how to use all of the functionality. But if you were just actually issuing a message, at this point, you could click Issue Hold and you'd be done. You gave it a name, a hold owner, a list of custodians, and you decided whether you want preservation turned on or not. And that's all you need to do because everything else is templated. The Messages tab is where you create and select the message templates you're going to use for each of these notice types. So all of these notice types need to have a selection made. You notice that the system already picked my default templates. However, if I wanted to select a different template, I can have as many hold templates as I want. Sometimes that will be for different litigation types. If, for example, if I want to have one set of language for employment matters versus intellectual property litigation, I'm going to use different boilerplate language for that. But let's take a look at the editor real quick. If I click on the edit function, what I'm doing now is not editing the template. I'm editing a copy of the template for this hold specifically. So if I make changes here, for example, let's go ahead and just delete this line right here. So we've made a change now. And of course, the save button lights up because I made a change. You'll notice you can actually compose your messages in the editor here if you so choose. This is a full rich text editor with the ability to do styling and images and hyperlinks. You can also insert placeholders. So you have the text you see with the yellow background. those represent metadata fields. So anywhere I drop my cursor and select a metadata field, it will paste that information in there. And then when I issue this hold out, it will fill it in with the information automatically. So this is why I mentioned the matter information. So all of the matter details are here. You can use them as placeholders. So if you want a description and the names of the plaintiffs and when it was filed and all that information in the hold notice, all you have to do is drop the placeholder in here. You'll notice this personalizes the message to each custodian, which will make it more likely for them to respond right away because they feel it's not a mass email. It's individually sent to them. You're not sending it individually, of course, because you're just modifying the template and then the system is merging it with each person's information. You are able to put placeholders in the subject. You do that by pressing control space. So that brings up a list of the custodians or placeholders up there. You can CC additional parties. So if I wanted to CC my IT guys, all I have to do is select them, hit add, and that will send Frederick here a copy of the notice. They won't be listed as a custodian. They'll get a copy of it. And it'll be differentiated to indicate to them that it is in fact not, they're not a custodian, but it is in fact a copy. But you'll notice list of custodians I put at the bottom as a placeholder so that the custodians can see who else has been notified as part of this. I can change the importance level of the case, of the email message. I can also attach a file. Sometimes people like to attach a PDF of the hold notice to the hold notice email. So you have the option to do that or attach any other correspondence there. Once you make your changes, I'm going to hit save here, and you'll notice now that this one looks different than the rest. It says based on template, standard hold notice litigation customized, meaning we have changed this from the original template. You saw me do that. And you'll notice in addition to my edit and preview icons, I have a couple others. So the duplicate, the save as template option is still there, but now I have these two that appeared. What this one will do is update the base template. So if I made changes here and I want those changes reflected in the original template that this was based on, I would click this button and it would save my changes back to the original template. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to modify my template. If, however, I want to revert back from the template and wipe out any changes I made, I would click this button and that would effectively revert back from the base template. So if I click that, you'll see that it'll overwrite my changes and put me back to where the template was. All of these templates work the exact same way. They all serve different purposes though. I mentioned the hold, reminder, escalation, awareness, and lift. The only one I didn't really talk about was the CC. If you were, for example, CCing the IT department or another attorney is involved, this would give you the CC template is a special template that the system uses whenever you CC a party. And you'll see it looks different. The message they would get is you have been CC'd for this hold and the name of the hold. This message with the original message content was sent to the following custodians. So it lets them see what the message was sent, what message was sent and who it was sent to, but it makes it clear they are not a custodian. You can have this say anything you want. This is just what I use for demonstration purposes. The last thing I'll point out on the screen is the preview function, which is fairly useful. If you click preview, what this lets you do is you would select one of your custodians. So I'll select Jeffrey Wolf, and the system formats it, fills in the placeholders, and shows you what it will look like to that custodian. So I can see here from Julie Freeland to Jeffrey Wolf, and the placeholder information is filled in along with the other custodians. All the other information is filled in correctly for me. I can see what that looks like if they view it on a desktop or laptop. I can see what it would look like if they're going to look at it on a tablet or on a mobile phone. So you can actually look at your formatting, your scrolling, and make sure it's the way you want it to appear. The other thing you can do with this screen is you can send a preview to yourself. So if I click send preview to me, what that will do is it will literally send the message to me. So I just open that up. It just came in my inbox. So to me, from me, and it actually says draft in front of the subject. So it makes it clear this is not a hold notice. This is a draft that you requested to see of what it looks like. And this is a great way if an attorney says, hey, go ahead and compose a hold notice for me, but send it to me before you send it out, okay? You can do a send preview to me and then just forward it to them. That's a great way to get their approval on it. When they give you the thumbs up, you can go and hit issue hold inside of our application. Coming back here now. So once you have your messages the way you want them, let's get back out of that and we'll go back to messages. You can see I've got all of my messages selected. I'm able to go to scheduling. Scheduling, you normally don't have to change. So what this is the default schedule for sending the reminder notices, reminder, escalation, and awareness. And you can see here by default, it's set to send a reminder 7 days after the hold notice, and then repeat that reminder 2 days later until you hit a maximum of 3 reminders. And you can see here, we also indicate what the next scheduled send time is. So if I issue a hold today, right now, then the first reminder will go out to anyone who has not acknowledged on August 19th at 2:20 p.m. Eastern time. I can edit it right here. So I click edit and I can change these numbers. I can actually turn off a particular thing. So if I don't want to use escalations at all in this case, I just turn it right off. Escalation, you can see here by default will go out 2 weeks after the original hold notice if they ignore the hold and the reminders. And then awareness by default is set to 6 months after the hold notice goes out. The other nice thing, you can change the global defaults in the configuration. I'll show you that in a little bit. Last thing I'll show you before we issue the hold is questionnaires. So surveys or questionnaires are something that is very useful to be able to conduct. To be able to do them automatically to your custodians is even better because the system will automatically tabulate the responses for you. I have some hold questionnaires that I've pre-built, and I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm going to select my standard hold questions. I'm going to select it as hold acceptance questionnaire, meaning that they have to complete the questionnaire before they can acknowledge the hold. If I don't do that, I could make it a follow-up questionnaire, and then it would be optional for them to complete. But I would have to send a notice for them to trigger them to do the questionnaire separately from the hold notice. So I like to make that required. That way I get my answers. And again, like anything else, you can select the ones you want. You can create new ones, but I'll show you what it looks like for an existing one here in the questionnaire editor. So you have a full questionnaire editor, much like you have the message template editor. And this lets you create simple or complex questionnaires. You can see on the left is all of my question types. So for example, if I wanted to add a 5th question here and I wanted it to be a drop down, all I have to do is click and drag. There we go. You actually don't have to drag it, you just click it. And you can see my questionnaire is blank, and I can say, what M&Ms do you prefer? And it's just that easy to create a question. So now I can come in here and say, plain peanut pretzel. They're awesome if you haven't had the pretzel ones. And that's it. And if I want to make this a required question, I can turn the is required on. Otherwise, it'll be optional. And so when you turn on is required, of course, you get the asterisk next to the question. I can also add conditional logic. So for an example, if I say, this question only appears if the answer to the first question is equals no, yes. So if they say no, they won't get this question at all. Or I can ask a follow-up question. If they selected pretzel, do they also like the mint ones? So you can do whatever you want here in terms of questions, and the system will tabulate all the responses for you. We'll just cancel out of that. And let's go ahead and issue the hold now. And then we'll take a look at how that works. So if I look at the activity tab after the hold is issued, you will see that it's already gone. It's already finished the notice sending. What it's doing right now is contacting the Microsoft 365 Compliance Center and requesting the creation of the litigation hold and the 3 mailboxes to be put on hold. That takes a couple of minutes to do. Especially, it happens pretty quickly, but by the time we have to wait for the reporting back from Compliance Center that it's complete before we mark it as such. In the meantime, let's take a look at the email that I just received. So this is the actual hold notice that was just sent to me from Julie Freeland. And it's telling me that I have to preserve my data in this case. So I want to click here to accept the notice. We didn't talk about the acceptance link when I looked at the message, but that's important. You can have the text of the acceptance link say anything you want, but the link has to appear in the hold notice in order for the system to send it. So it won't let you create a hold notice that doesn't have one. So if I click on that, what that's going to do is it's going to open a new tab in my browser. You'll notice, again, no, single sign-on. The system is not requiring me to get credentialed. And now it recognizes me as the custodian, Jeffrey Wolf. So it's saying that I have to accept this hold. Remember, we talked about the ones down here. These are all the ones that I'm already an active party to. But the one up here is the one I have to accept. And you'll notice I can't click accept yet because I required the questionnaire to be completed. So let's fill in the questionnaire and we'll say yes. And Jane Doe should be also included. I didn't see her on the list of custodians. I can say where I store my data. And this is a perfect example of conditional logic. So if I wanted to, if the person said shared directory, I could ask a follow-up question saying, oh, I see you selected shared directory. What path to the shared directory do you use, or what drive letter are you storing it on? So you can get very creative with the questions in the survey there, and then hit complete. And now you see that I've completed my questionnaire. The system has lit the accept button for me. So now I can click accept. And now all holds are accepted, no more action is required. So as a custodian, my work is done. That's how the custodian interacts with the application. That's all they see. They can actually visit this address. This URL right here is the address for your legal hold instance with the /custodian portal added to it. They can actually bookmark that, and we typically encourage them to, especially the ones who are on multiple litigations, because then they can visit this site without anytime they want. They don't have to wait for a notice sending them there. And that way they can see any holds that they're currently active on. So it becomes a way to deflect requests from your custodians asking, hey, what cases am I still involved in? They can self-serve that information here. But if we jump back over to the hold management portal now, we go to the custodians tab, you will see a few things have changed. First of all, Ariana Akers here, notice has not been sent to her because we marked her silent, so we didn't send a hold notice to her. And John and Martin here, they're pending acceptance. We sent them hold notices, they haven't responded yet. But Jeffrey Wolf, on the other hand, has acknowledged, notice accepted. And his preservation is marked completed, meaning that his laptop has been preserved, because remember, IT checked off that they did that already. The other people here, their laptops have been preserved, but we're still waiting on Compliance Center to report back that their mailbox preservation is active. That will update to completed pretty soon. Let's take a look at actions you can take on custodians after you've issued a hold. Now, you'll notice here that there are more icons here than there were when we were drafting the hold on the custodians tab. So if we take a look, for example, at John Lee, if I click on John Lee, it lights up some of the icons here. So for example, I can change his communication status. So communication status is not concrete. You can always change it for a custodian. I can also resend his hold notice to him. If he calls up and says, hey, my assistant said she got this notice, I didn't get a copy of it, I should have. Can you resend it to me? I must have lost it. Well, you can resend right from the system. You can send them a reminder directly. Notice none of the other ones are available yet because we haven't reached that point in the workflow yet. After 2 weeks, you can resend an escalation notice if that was the schedule for an escalation notice. I can't send them an optional questionnaire because there are none. I can lift the custodian though. So for example, if John Lee emails me back or calls me and says, I should not be involved in this case, please remove me. I can just come in here and say, lift custodian and click, and now you can see his status is lifted. It will actually now go out and release that preservation that it started working on for him as well. Martin here, Martin is off on vacation. And he said, hey, my assistant pinged me that you sent a hold notice, and I can't look at it right now, but I'm good. I'll make sure I don't delete anything. Please just mark me down. So I can come in here and accept on his behalf if I'm a hold manager. Notice it asks me for a reason. So I would say vacation, called in to accept. And I hit apply, and then I say yes. And now he's marked notice accepted. You'll notice that there's a few other things here. For example, Jeffrey Wolf. So Jeffrey Wolf needs to be lifted. He was accidentally added to this. So I can lift him. Or you can see if I go to one of the other ones that is not done yet, I can actually, nope, I don't want to lift her yet. I can't escalate her, of course, yeah, because she's not there yet. She can't be escalated because she's a silent custodian. I was going to say we could escalate her if we wanted to, but we can't do that because she is a silent custodian. So all of our custodians in this case have now been have reached their final disposition, right? So we're not going to get a response from her. These two have accepted either by email or verbal, and this one is lifted. Let's drill in though and take a look at a couple other things here. So you'll notice these icons on the right side: view custodian activity, view custodian preserved locations. So if I click on preserved locations, I can see Jeffrey Wolf if I click on that, I can see Jeffrey Wolf, his laptop was preserved manually. So that shows me that. And if I go back, oh, you now see, that's good. All the preservations now the mailbox preservations have finally completed, and we've been notified, so they show completed there. I can actually look at Martin's, and I can see here that his preservation is complete in the audit log. So in fact, let's take a look at the activity for a particular custodian. And that's the other icon right here, is this activity feature, view custodian activity. So for Martin, August 12th at 2:08 p.m. in the East Coast, we added him as a custodian to this hold. And you can see on the right, when we click on an activity, that we have all of the detail that is stored. So who executed the action, what IP address they came in from, all of that is tracked and for defensibility purposes. And all the events after that are also tracked. So here's when we changed their communication status. Here's when when manual preservation of their laptop was performed by IT, and that's when they marked the check mark. Here's when we issued the holdout. Here's when we sent the notice, and you can see hold message type notice, hold notice was sent. Here's an exact copy of the message as it was received or sent and received for that person, and you can see all the information there is tracked. Here's when the automatic preservation was completed. And here is the acceptance when we accepted that notice. You can see here, so let's take a look at some of the other audit information that's available to us. In fact, let's go ahead and look at the questionnaires that were completed. So now here in our IPRO demo hold, I'm able to go in, and if I go into, we looked at the custodian tab already, and if we looked at the preservation tab, we can see all of that is done. If I go into the questionnaires tab now, I can go to, you'll notice it doesn't say edit anymore, it says view results. So let's go ahead and view results. And the only person who completed their questionnaire was in fact Jeffrey Wolf. We can see that here. The other people have not opened it yet. Not only does the application administer the questionnaire, but it also tabulates the responses, of course. So here I can see not only that he completed the questionnaire, but I can see what responses he gave to the questionnaire. They appear in tabular form. Under the settings wheel, however, here we can actually export. So we probably want to export that to something like Excel to manipulate the information and pivot it. We can also PDF it right from here. We can graph it on the screen if we'd like. And then we have that information at our fingertips there. The whole point of the application is that's so, and now actually let's finish the life cycle of this hold. So now when we're done with the hold, I can actually come in here and you'll notice there's a lift hold button. The blue button now says lift hold. So let's go ahead and lift the hold. And that will now, you can see here in the activity tab, that will now send lift notices out to the custodians, and it will also remove the in-place preservations. That's what's happening now. If we look at the custodians tab, you'll see everyone shows lifted, and the preservation status will soon switch to not preserved for the automatic preservation locations anyway. But the whole point of a legal hold application is to provide defensibility in the process, right? So we looked at the very first, let's take a look at our navigation here. We looked at this first navigation element, hold management. That's where we've been pretty much the whole time. But there are a few others here that are useful. So the next one is matter management. And as you can see here, this is where I can create those cases. I did mine, the IPRO versus Acme one. I did it from within the hold notice, creation of hold notice, but you can come in here as well and create new ones or modify the existing ones. We are working on enhancements to this interface as well. So we're going to do additional enhancements to the matter screen, possibly even an API to integrate to matter management systems. So look for that in the future. But all the information is still tracked here, and I can modify it, I can delete it. The next one is the report function. And so this is obviously the point, like I said, the point of the application is to provide defensibility. So you need to report. Let's take a look at a few select reports. I'm not going to go through all of them today, but we want to look at a detailed report of the hold we just issued. So if we go look at IPRO demo hold right here and hit generate, I can see when you select the case, you hit generate. The system gives you the report already formatted, and then you can just click PDF, and that will download it as a PDF for you, which you can then send to outside counsel or whoever, or the court, whoever asked for it, for example. So I can see that right in the report, stylized for me. There are much more sophisticated reports than that one, though. For example, a custodian report. So if I needed to say, hey, show me all of the custodians in my entire organization who are on hold currently for any issued hold, I can just select all custodians and hit issued. And with a couple of clicks now, I can generate a report that shows me for each custodian which holds they're on and what their current statuses are. And of course, I can export this as well. We have reports around active holds. We have reports around custodians. We have individual detailed reports. We have holds for managing by managing attorneys. So if you want to see, if one attorney wants to see all the reports, all the holds associated with them, they can get that report. We can do reports by preservation. So which custodians are on preservation hold. We can also report on custodians leaving the organization. So for example, if I want to see for all holds, who has left the organization since June 1st up through today, I can just select that and then generate. I don't know if there's anybody, no one's left the organization yet, but that would show me a report of any custodians who've left the organization. Also, we've built one for changing. So any changes to a profile, in other words, somebody changes departments or they change email addresses or change names, and you want an updated list of who has made those, which custodians have changed, you can run that report and then take action on that. So for example, the leaving report, the trigger for the leaving report is, hey, show me all custodians on active holds, because I need to make some sort of disposition with those custodians. They need to either be probably lifted from those cases or take some sort of other action. And the same with profile change. If somebody leaves a department, they may no longer be a custodian or they may become a custodian as a result of that change. So those reports help in that respect. The next one is the configuration. Please keep in mind that your ability to see items on these menus is directly related to your permissions in the system. So you may not have the ability to see all options. I'll talk about the address book next. One of the questions we get very often is, can I send hold notices to custodians outside of my organization? And the answer is absolutely. The way you do that, though, is they have to be added as a manual custodian or manual contact here in the address book for your subscription. They only have to be added once, though. So if you see here, the people with the eyeball icon in the far right corner means that they are synchronized with my directory provider, in this case, Azure Active Directory. I don't have any ability to change or delete this contact because it is a synchronized contact from Active Directory. However, I can manually add people using the Create Contact button, and all I have to provide is a name. That's the only required field. If you want to actually send them hold notices, you do have to put an email address in, but the system does not require it. So if you just want to track them associated to a case, you can. But you can put as much or as little information as you have in there, including the email address of their manager if you want to make use of the escalation policy. And then they get added here. You'll see the ones with the edit or delete icons means I've manually added them to my subscription. So I can change them, I can delete them. If you have a group of people that you want to add manually, you can import those contacts uploading a CSV. So I can upload a CSV and those will automatically get ingested. But everyone else, as I said, is being synchronized with the directory source. I'm a system administrator, so I have this synchronized contacts function. Most people will not see that menu option. If you see here on my configuration, there's also message templates and questionnaire templates. These will take you to the library, the message template library and the questionnaire template library, respectively. Here you can edit templates, delete templates, clone templates, and trash and delete template. Yeah, delete templates. That was the other one. Preview is the other one. Preview, you can preview the template. So that's what each icon is associated to: edit, preview, clone or duplicate, and trash or delete that particular template. So you notice that I have a series of templates here by type. So you have to have at least one of each of the 6 standard types in order for the system to send a hold notice. In addition, I also have in my questionnaire templates, you can see I've got several questionnaires here, a couple of them that I've created. And again, you can edit, you can duplicate, or you can delete your questionnaire templates. In order to edit them, obviously, you click on it and go into the edit function, which will take you into the questionnaire editor. The other options here are the admin center. Again, some of this is going to be controlled by permission, but the user overview shows you, if you have permissions to see this, who has what rights within your subscription. So who's got global hold manager, who is a global hold viewer, which means they can see holds, but they can't create them or edit them. And then who is a system administrator, meaning they can have access to the administration functions. What else is in the admin center is the audit log, the full audit log, as opposed to the one I showed you, which was filtered down to just either just a particular custodian in a particular hold. This is the full audit log, so you can come in here and search any event type, any user, any hold, or any contact, and see what the activity was. So you can filter it down and export it for reporting purposes. Tenant audit means that this shows me the activity, the security activity. So in other words, I can see here not the activity related to creating a hold, but the activity related to managing this application. So I can see user creation or role changes that were done. All activity here is tracked. And this is, again, this one has only been available to the system administrator. Lastly is the subscription information. So this is where the product is integrated into your tenant. We can see here that we can connect multiple tenants, Microsoft 365 tenants, to a single IPRO legal hold subscription. So you can see here, I've got 3 tenants connected, all that are Azure. I can also configure my integrations here. So if I want to integrate, this is where I would integrate Compliance Center for doing in-place preservation. These are the locations that I want to save my preservation to, or locations that I want to be preserved. So 365 email and the manual laptop preservation that I mentioned. I also have the ability to export all the data from the subscription. So we have built an export tool in you can use if you have a system administration role. You can run an export, and that will export all of the data from your application. So if you're migrating, unfortunately, off of our IPRO legal hold, you can export out of it. We also conversely have an import tool that is not accessible to the end users, where we can import data from other legal hold applications or manually created data. And then lastly, here is the default message schedule settings. I mentioned these defaults can be changed. Here's where you would change them. So you can actually come in here and modify this. And then that will become the default. Whatever changes you make here would become the default for all holds going forward from this point. The last item on the list is, of course, the help. I always like to point that out during training. But what's new about the application? Fantastic tool, because it shows you, this is, of course, software as a service. It is modified on almost monthly, as you can see on the right there. And every time we do a new build, we publish what changes were made. So here we've increased we updated the description field to making it more useful. We added some additional reports back in June here. We changed the importing options and did some performance enhancements. Every time it's there, we do a change, it's well documented here what was changed about the system. You can actually look at it, learn more, watch a video, etc. In addition, we also have the full documentation of the application linked here. And this, of course, is updated as the application is updated. This is very thorough with screenshots, links to everything in the application. And then lastly, of course, you will always find links to the help portal. So if you do need assistance, you can reach out and open a trouble ticket with our support desk and get immediate response from them regarding the matter. So with that, I think we are reached the end of our legal hold training. Hopefully this has been useful to you, and I want to thank you for your time today.